All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Discovering Multifamily Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Scandariato with Red Knight Properties. And today we have Thomas Allen here with us. He's a healthcare real estate and mixed-use real estate professional. He's the president and founder with the Practice Real Estate Group, which basically deals with a lot of different types of leasing and real estate syndication models. And today we're going to talk about a specific type of syndication model that's been kind of emerging at the forefront of the public eye recently. In the healthcare industry, we talk a lot about multifamily syndications and how they're structured and how it benefits active participants and passive participants. But there's an interesting syndication model with practitioners and healthcare professionals in the real estate industry that Thomas has been involved in. So I definitely want to dissect that, and I'm looking forward to the conversation. So great to have you, Thomas. So could you talk to us about kind of a little bit of your background, and then we could get into the type of syndicates you're working on or your clients are involved with?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the founder of Practice Real Estate Group. We're based here in Austin, Texas, and have brokers throughout the state of Texas, and then a couple of select cities around the country. Started out doing retail leasing, started seeing a lot of doctors calling, and that was in the Great Recession. Nothing was going on at the shopping centers I was leasing, except for doctors were continuing to call the signs, and most of the time did not have a broker representing them, and started noticing them expanding out more and more into the suburban markets. And so went and started Practice Real Estate Group to focus on working with doctors to help them make smart real estate decisions. And the majority of our work is being their tenant rep or buyer broker. But through that, over the last 10 years, we started partnering with them to build projects. And, it's really been ramping up here over the last couple of years. And it's been a great field that we really enjoy.
Excellent. So how has it changed during your tenure in the industry? Obviously, you've been involved for a while, and you were talking about the doctors getting involved in retail, and has that trend? It seems like that trend is lessening. And what type of deals are you working on, and what type of syndications are your clients involved with on the healthcare side?
Yeah, so like right now, the two most active projects we have, well, little history. The first one we did was a group of doctors wanting to be in a market, and you kind of have two different sets of docs. Some are larger groups that are maybe private equity backed that are trying to add as many locations as possible, and they don't want to tie up a bunch of cash in real estate, but they are putting a ton of money into the real estate via their finish outs, and so they're adding a lot of value to the project, signing 10 to 15-year leases. So they feel, and I think they're right, that they should get some benefit out of the real estate investment portion of that without having to be the sole owner and manager of that project. And then you've got some other groups that are all doctor owned, and they're trying to add locations and bring in associates, and real estate can be seen as a vehicle for them to both build wealth and actually attract younger docs and let them buy in maybe a share or two of the real estate. And then you have other docs that are maybe a small group of 2 to 4 docs that want to have 2 or 3 locations in a market. And those guys are, their kind of long-term plan is to own these practices a long time, work them a long time. And so it makes sense for them to own real estate as well. And so you kind of have a different structure for each one of those. So happy to kind of go into that.
Yeah. Can you talk about how those are structured? Because obviously it's a little bit different when you're, commingling the practice with the real estate, maybe just high level, how they're structured.
Yeah. So, on the private equity backed groups that we work with, a lot of those groups, they don't necessarily want to have a straight equity investment into real estate, because they, there could be stuff in their funds that say like, hey, our investors in these funds already have real estate exposure elsewhere. But maybe they'll let some of the principals in the group, some of the lead docs that started the group that were maybe, had recapped with the PE guys, they'll be our equity partners. So like we had a group recently wanting to be in a market, and we found an old Family Dollar that, set between an HEB, which is the large dominant grocer here in Texas, and a Walmart. And so we went and bought that building and put them in there, and we were really able to kind of custom the lease structure. It was a 15-year lease, but we were able to kind of mess with the rent and the TI allowance to best fit their model. And then the founding docs were the equity partners of that project. We went and set up all the debt and signed the debt, and got them in. And so they're clipping a nice coupon, nice return on their equity investment from a doctor level, not a practice level. And it's going well. And then you've got, their goals are also a little different. We're actually going to go sell that project, we decided, and they're going to, double their money in 18 months. And we're going to do very well too. So it was a great partnership deal. And then on these kind of larger doctor-owned groups that are picture it more like a law firm, there might be 20 partners in this group. We're doing a deal with them right now where we set up the partnership. We went and found the site. We're going to build the entire building. They're going to own the majority of it, but we got a carried interest for being the experts in arranging everything. And that's one that will probably, those docs are going to own it, for many years. They're actually doing a surgery center in it, which is a $300 a foot commitment prior to, even buying all the crazy expensive equipment. And so they want control over that real estate. So that's one where we'll go, once it's completed, we'll go refinance that at some crazy good debt terms, and hold that for a long time. Doctors will get, and us, we'll get most of our cash back, and it'll be a nice cash flowing asset for 10, 20, 30 years. And as doctors buy into the group over time, and the older docs want to exit, they can sell their real estate shares to the younger docs coming in. So, that's a different goal where they're trying to create something that will attract good talented doctors, and they can control that asset for a long time. And then finally, the kind of single doc or 2 or 3 docs that want a couple locations, a lot of those guys, they do like the idea of actually buying like an office condo or something. And sometimes that can make sense, where, they're going to own it for 30 years. And then when they retire, they feel like they can sell the practice and the condo to the next doc. There's a lot of arguments over those not really appreciating well over time. And so we look at those on a market by market basis. And we've had a couple of those guys go from, I don't want a condo. Let's go buy this building over here. And, where I'll take 5,000 feet of the 20,000, and we'll do a partnership there, and you can go lease that up over time and have a longer term hold and an actual cash flowing asset versus concentrated risk in one office condo unit. So that's a long-winded high level answer, but that's about as high level as I could get.
Yeah. And in terms of you touched a little bit about the financing. Are they financing? How are the doctors financing both the real estate and the practices? Were they 2 separate things?
They're 2 separate things. Well, it depends. They're 2 separate things. The doctors, everybody will go set up even if they're buying a condo, they'll set up a separate real estate LLC. But banks love medical and they love doctors. So there are many verticals within all kinds of banks around the country that focus on doctors, and they will get very aggressive to get those real estate loans. But when you start talking about like the example of the surgery center, I mean, at the end of the day, ends up being about a $13 million loan. I mean, we'll be able to go get non-recourse 30-year note. I'm not sure what the rate will be yet, but it will be low. And probably like life insurance type money. Versus the PE backed deal that we're going to flip out of. I mean, that was kind of your standard real estate loan, but doctors do not have a problem getting money to own real estate. The banks love it. They're super safe. Their failure rate is very low.
Got it. Okay. No, that's pretty interesting. And then you have some experience on the mixed use side as well. Can you kind of describe what mixed use means to our audience, and obviously how that's been evolving over time and going into 2022?
Well, the mixed use side is more on the leasing side. I mean, what we've seen a huge deal is as people are getting more used, consumers are getting more used to convenience. The demand for healthcare, they want people close to their house, and so and then with the way things are marketed nowadays, doctors see benefits in visibility, and so as a result, to get into both the super urban areas where there's a lot of multifamily growth going on, and the suburban areas, you're seeing more of a retailization of medicine, and doctors going into these projects simply to be close to the patient, which is the customer. And you're seeing the hospital systems down to the dentist. There's just more and more. It's not your standard old big office building next to some big medical center in your town. They're going out.
Right. And I love what you said about the convenience, and it's definitely not the way it used to be back in the 80s and 90s, like you said. In those larger office complexes, and they might be, pretty far from the neighborhood or the metropolitan area, and people want to be close.
Yeah, I mean that's what the customer requires now. Is they're going to go whoever they can park closest to, get in, get out as fast as they can. Whether it's obviously an urgent care, the convenience is in the title, but yeah, I mean we're seeing tons of dermatologists and plastic surgeons and ear, nose, and throat doctors go into projects that you never would have thought they would have gone into even 10 years ago.
Right, and that's pretty interesting. And you see that this trend is only going to continue. And what do you see the effects of telehealth on utilization of space?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. My experience with telehealth thus far is, even as a consumer, is sometimes it's helpful, but I feel like half the time I'm like, oh, I'll just get a telehealth visit for this deal, and I'll hop on the computer, not have to go somewhere. I end up being told I have to go somewhere, and so obviously, I think if you read the trends, there's a huge benefit to telehealth, and it's not going anywhere. But there's always going to be a need for the office,
Yep, I've heard that before. Thomas, how can my audience find you, learn more about you, reach out to you?
Our website is great, practicerealestategroup.com. My contact information's there. I'm a good email checker, so if you email me, I will email you back. That's the best way.
Awesome. And my audience, if you liked what you heard and or saw today, if you want to reach out to Thomas and learn more about everything he's working on, feel free to do so. We'll have a link in our social media description as well on iTunes. And if you liked what you heard today, if you could please give us a rating and review on iTunes, that kind of helps Thomas and myself get our message out to a greater audience. That's just the way iTunes works. So we would appreciate that. And Thomas, we really want to thank you again for coming on and appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Thank you.